So all the true cannabis experience in the entire world is centered here in California. And this may piss a lot of people off or cause a lot of people to have their reasons why it's not. I'm sure there's people that will say Amsterdam, maybe Spain potentially, but maybe some of these places have further origins where they were allowed in that community longer. But for true commercial cannabis production, no one has more experience than California. Even Colorado, that was legalized earlier than California, they still weren't at the scale that California is. So the amount of scale, the amount of infrastructure, the workforce, brain power that's here, that's just centered around cannabis, is unmatched by any other region in the world. And I'm willing to be challenged by this. If you want to leave in the comments below some areas where I'm overlooking and I could be mistaken in this theory. However, my approach on this, my opinion, is that California for cannabis is the same that it is for Silicon Valley. And the fact that computer was basically invented here, HP, I believe, or Epson, like all these places, Compact, all these places were originated in Silicon Valley and they grew. Apple, IBM, I think IBM might have been in the East Coast, but so regardless of where there's other computer businesses in the region and in the world, the majority of it is here in California. Majority of the people leading the technology, leading the designs, leading the innovations is here in California, both in technology in the Silicon Valley area, as well as in cannabis. And the cannabis is spread out through the state. We have different expertises throughout the state. You know, Sacramento, Bay Area, they're known for a lot of indoor cultivation, like really good quality indoor cultivation. Sac's more for new genetics, the Bay's for better exotics. LA, they have a lot of indoor production, but there's a lot of mediocre quality, so you get lower prices down there, not as good a quality. All the good connoisseur top shelf usually comes from the Bay Area, and then secondly, Sac. Most of the new genetics come out of Sac, and then Humboldt has a lot of experience leading the light depth and leading the outdoor cultivation along with Mendocino County. Each one of these different regions have their respective extensive experiences in these niches of cannabis. And these are people that have been around for decades, generations. You know, there's farms up in Humboldt and in Mendo that have been there through multiple generations since back in the 60s growing weed. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few before that as well. But it really, from the stories I've been told from the elders up there in the mountains, I've spent a lot of time up there with my distribution company, and a lot of the stories stem back to the Grateful Dead days, to the days where there was hippie communes. That's what they were doing for their income is growing weed, and then, you know, getting that dispersed throughout California, throughout the country, however they were doing it. But that's what they were supporting their lifestyles with. And so that tradition grew on. And as I mentioned in other videos, in 1996, California put some laws in place allowing medical marijuana. And this is prior to recreational legalization. Doing so, this cannabis culture has been ingrained in society. And so we have massive amounts of people in California, both leaders and innovators, as well as all the way down to employees. We have massive amounts of cannabis trained employees here. No other state's going to match that. New York's probably going to be the next biggest state behind California, either New York or Florida. But neither Florida nor New York has the experienced workforce that California does. Now, the next thing to look at is population and economy size. California is literally on a world scale of an economy. No other state is like that. Even countries like Amsterdam, stuff like that. Yeah, they've been leading the quote unquote allowable, you know, the coffee shops where you could, you know, somewhat, it wasn't as taboo, right? Where, you know, even back in the early 2000s, in a lot of these states in America, people were scared to even smoke out in public. And thankfully that taboo has been going away in recent years, and more and more states are coming around to it. But there's still a lot out there that are heavily against cannabis and all the great effects that it has, they choose to ignore. That's for other videos. My point to this is that the true experience and the brain power behind cannabis lies here in California. So no matter what states come on board, no matter what states build out, you know, state-of-the-art facilities, the actual experience, the knowledge, the brain power, that's all here in California. And then on top of that, the networks are here in California. So even if you take a good grower from California, and that's what the counter argument to this is going to be, is saying, oh, well, some of the best growers in Oklahoma are from California. Yeah, they are, but you also don't have that access to that network and infrastructure out there. You don't have all the employees here. You don't have the multiple different trim crews to choose from. You don't have, multiple choices of people to call on when you're in a pinch, or when, you need to sell something at a discount, and you have a long list of buyers in California, but in Oklahoma, you might only have one or two. My point is, yes, you can take those smaller percentages of people and move them out to other states and let them grow, but they're still not going to have access to the whole thing. And we see that again with the Silicon Valley example. You take tech workers and move them to Austin, Texas, and move them to Boston, Massachusetts, and move them to these other different cities and try to build up, recreate the Silicon Valley in these other cities. Yes, you can start, but you're never going to gain those years of experience that Silicon Valley's always had on these places. Silicon Valley's been, 50, 60 years relevant. So no one's going to gain 50, 60 years and become to the present time. They're always going to have that head start. They're always going to have that access to people. So same with California with the cannabis industry. No matter who comes from California to these other states, those other states are never going to surpass California. Take a note from California's book, and we're seeing mistakes already go into place in New York as well, which is, I don't know. It's almost so silly in my mind that it's like they have to be planning this. They have to be doing this on a way to be like either that, or they're just doing it blatantly stupidly. So, and not learning from the mistakes that California may have made. So anyway, that's again for another topic. But just understand that California is always going to be a leader. They're always an innovator. They have the most experience. They have the most access to networks, resources, employees, skilled labor. And these are things that are just never going to go away. Thanks for watching the channel. I'm glad you get some value out of it. Sign up for my newsletter on the website, hichris.com. Links below. We'll also alert you on when the new coaching course comes out in 2023 for building and launching your licensed cannabis brand. Thanks for watching.